So this is something that I've been talking about quite a bit over my last couple of live streams. What you see here is a list of all of the main releases that I'm interested in for this year. And as you can see, this list is pretty stacked. And you guys are going to look at this list and you're going to be like, wow, this is actually fantastic. There are so many fantastic games that are coming out. We're going to be absolutely spoiled for choice. And in a way, yes, for us, it's going to feel very, very good in the short term, but I'm always thinking about things in the long term, like what kind of effect is this going to have in the industry? I mean, just look at this. We have Attack on Titan 3 coming out July 1st, Outward 2 coming out in early access July 7th, Endless Ragnarok on the 9th of July, which this is the expansion for Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which I just made a video about yesterday. Forsaken Realms Varan's Call coming out on the 27th of July, Beast of Reincarnation on the 3rd of August, Star Wars Zero Company on the 27th of August, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition 28th of August, Blood of the Dawnwalker 3rd of September, Wolverine 15th of September, Control Resonant 24th of September, Onimusha currently 25th of September, but there's like a rumor going around that this can potentially be moved up to the 4th of September. It hasn't been officially confirmed by anyone at Capcom, so I'm still not reporting on it. Ace Combat coming out on the 2nd of October, Gears War E-Day 6th of October, Dragon's Dogma 2, 9th of October, Valor Mortis, 13th of October, Phantom Blade Zero, 29th of October, No Rest for the Wicked, also coming out in October, Lords of the Fallen 2 is coming out in fall 2026. We don't know exactly when, might be at the end of October as well, right on top of Phantom Blade Zero, which is going to absolutely suck. Crimson Moon, I believe, has been confirmed for September. I think I even made a video on this, so on top of all of these other games that are already out. Dusk Blood's supposedly still coming out this year, but this one might end up getting delayed because we didn't even get news for this one on the Nintendo Direct. Tides of Annihilation supposedly still coming out in 2026. Mortal Shell 2 supposedly still coming out in 2026. Zelda Ocarina of Time still coming out in 2026. And then I have a couple of other games in here that are going to be coming out in 2027. And like I was saying, you guys are thinking, isn't this a good thing? No, because what's going to happen is quite simply, especially with the way that the economy is going, gamers just do not have that amount of income that they can just, that amount of disposable income to invest in all of these video games. So what's going to end up happening is people are just going to be buying like one or two maybe of all of these games around September, October, and maybe even August. And that's going to be it. And there's going to be a lot of studios that are quite simply not going to sell the amounts that they need to justify the investment that they've done in the game that they've been producing. And this, I believe, is going to be a serious problem because, if they don't sell enough copies, as we all know, this is kind of like a dog-eat-dog world, and they're going to end up potentially, having some financial problems due to the fact that they didn't sell enough titles. Now, a big reason as to why this is happening is because of Grand Theft Auto 6, because it's going to be releasing, I believe, in November or something. To be completely honest, I don't even know exactly when GTA 6 is coming out because a lot of people are going to say, are just saying that to be contraried. I just don't care. Okay. It's not my kind of game. Like, I've played 5. I thought it was pretty fun, but it's not something that I'm chomping at the bit to play. I enjoy other styles of games, and it's perfectly fine if you really just can't wait for GTA 6 and all of that. Good on you. But it's not for me. But it is undeniable that it is going to have a negative effect in the industry. Now, in that context, I've came across this video from Bellular News. I'm going to be linking it in the description down below, so please do watch his video on this before you watch mine. I'm going to be reacting to see what Bellular has to say about this situation, which I believe is what the topic of this video is. Without any further ado, let's get things started and check it out.
I remember being a teenager in 2006 and 7, also 2008, all years with absolute loads of banger AAA games. So it's a bit weird, because now, for years, everyone's been asking, where are the AAA games? I mean, why is Capcom the only major developer releasing, like, a major title? As of this showcase season, we've found them. We've got platform flagships, long-established franchises, hugely anticipated sequels, even brand new AAA IP, but there's one major problem. All of them coming out at once, pretty much within an 8-week window. There are dozens of games, they're all going to cannibalize each other's audiences, and they're all doing that. They're all taking on that cost because they want to avoid the threat of the biggest game of the year, GTA.
See, he has a point. It's kind of the same thing that I was saying. They're going to cannibalize each other's audiences, and this is going to end up being a major issue because, like, one game selling like a little bit less than normal, particularly if you're working with a publisher, which I don't know how many of these guys are working with publishers. Publishers are going to be very strict, especially in the current economy situation that we are with video games. Or if you guys pay attention, like Xbox is closing like how many studios? The Xbox situation is even so much more crazy because we had an announcement of this is the thing that always sticks with me. We had the announcement of Senua. And, you know, not even a week later or something like that, they come out and they say, also, we're likely going to sell off or, you know, do something with Ninja Theory. And you're like, you literally just announced a new game in your showcase. Like not even a week ago. What are you doing? It's absolutely insane. So it's a complete bloodbath right now when it comes to this. And like I said, in the short term, this is going to feel really good for gamers because they're going to be like, man, look at all this choice we have. In the long term, I fear that a lot of these studios are going to end up getting shut down.
And that means that the end of 2026 is going to be a bloodbath for new game releases. Unless you're Barbie. Because apparently Barbie is one of the only IPs brave enough to fight Grand Theft Auto.
Barbie's not scared of Grand Theft Auto. Bring it on.
The whole month of November 26 has very few games scheduled. The Digital Eclipse Barbie Rewind is there. The remaster of Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee is there. And then there's GTA 6.
And here's the other thing, right? If you look at a lot of these games quite simply don't really have, at least I feel that they don't really have that much overlap with GTA 6. Like, is somebody that's chomping at the bit to play GTA 6 really going to be playing Valor Mortis or Phantom Blade Zero? And I believe that S-Game, which are the people behind Phantom Blade Zero, have said, we're not scared of going up against GTA 6. And to be honest, I'd be like, please move your date to November then. Please go against GTA 6. Please. There's so much happening already. Or even like, let's say No Rest for the Wicked. Like, I don't think that people that are chomping at the bit to play GTA 6 are necessarily the same people that are going to be playing No Rest for the Wicked or Lords of the Fallen 2 or even Crimson Moon. Like, I think that some of these games could theoretically come out at the same time as GTA 6. The problem is that it's a massive risk and nobody wants to take that risk. And I understand. I'm not criticizing them for not doing it. I'm just looking at it from the outside and I'm just thinking, man, what can we do to stop this train crash that's about to happen? It's crazy.
The only game in the calendar after GTA 6 is a Gothic 3 console port. November is just a barren wasteland where no major publisher dares release because they don't want to get caught in the void around the biggest game of this year. I mean, you hear the phrase, sucking the oxygen out of the room. Take a look at the release calendar. You can see that phrase visually. And when we extend the calendar further, it seems to be the case right through until mid-January. Almost no one wants to risk their business against the guaranteed marketing and hype winner of that time, which is obviously going to be GTA. And I don't blame them. But as the Summer Games Fest showcases have shown us, that's created a real problem for the rest of the industry. And a real problem for loads of us, because we're going to have months with so many games that we won't really be able to afford to buy them. It's kind of crazy. And that's all because of the industry's collective gambit. What if, instead of fighting GTA, they instead decide to all fight over the same 8 weeks leading into November? I'm sure nothing will go wrong with that. From August 27th to October 23rd, there will be more than 30 AAA, AA, or otherwise major game releases. But to get a sense of what a number like that really means, I'll put it this way. Within an 8-week stretch, we're going to get Call of Duty, Wolverine, Control Resonant, The Blood of the Dawnwalker, Onimusha, Ace Combat, and many, many more, all competing alongside early access graduations for games like Valheim and RuneScape Dragon Wilds. And that's not even counting the indie games. God help the indie games.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I was pointing out. Like, this list is just the stuff that I'm interested in. So this isn't even all of the games that are coming out. These are just the ones that I have even, a little bit of a passing interest. So things that I might check out. So there's way more games coming out besides the stuff on this list, which is absolutely insane.
They're really in for a rough time. Every showcase that we've just seen has more and more games releasing in the September and October block, and everyone knows why. Independently, all those publishers knew that GTA 6 was launching in November. That's the core logic of all of this, and it's the same one we saw when all of the indie devs fled from the launch of Hollow Knight Silksong. And it's why everyone usually does a smaller version of this dance with the yearly Call of Duty releases. And it's all because basically, it doesn't matter if your game is good when the cultural juggernaut lands nearby and dwarfs your entire sales window. But now, all of these games are showing up at the same time, fighting with each other, and that's probably going to hurt the industry. What we can expect then is that some of those games are going to move. They're going to be able to find money somewhere to make it through to 2027, but some will not. And that
We've had some of those games already move. So like Valor Mortis was initially scheduled for release on the 24th of September, which was on the same day as Control Resonant and one day before Onimusha. And that game has moved to the 13th of October. So now it's 4 days after Dragon's Dogma 2, which to me is just, I just don't know, man, because it's like I really want to play Valor Mortis, but I'm probably playing Dragon's Dogma 2 first because it's kind of like my jam. I really love Dragon's Dogma 2. It's just really, really hard, even as a content creator, but like I'm not even bringing the content creator part of it into it, but it's just really hard for you to kind of like choose which games you want to dedicate your time to, because that is ultimately the currency that you're going to have to deal with. Because sure, there's the monetary side of things, which right now in the current economy is completely screwed. So quite simply, a lot of people are not even able to afford video games. But there is also the time factor. So a lot of people quite simply don't even have the time to play all of these video games, even if they could afford them. Now, you can always buy them later. And that is a point that I understand a lot of people are going to make, which is like, oh, I can just buy them later at a discount. Yes, that's good for you. And, you know, valid. But it's not as good for the studios because they need to make that money earlier on. And the sales numbers, while still good, are not as good as those on-release purchases.
Somewhere to make it through to 2027, but some will not. And that means that when we get to September, we are going to see a bloodbath. Simple question for you. How many games do you buy per year? Because even before the economy took a nosedive and buying games became something you, I don't know, do instead of buying food, this was always going to be messy. Circana's data shows that only 4% of players in the US buy more than one game per month, and more than 60% never buy more than 2 games per year. There's what we think the games industry is as big enthusiasts. And then there's what it actually is within, you know, civilization, I guess. What those numbers mean is you're likely not going to be buying more than one of those 30 plus games.
And there's another issue going on right now as well, which is, you know, we've always had new people come into the hobby because even though it is somewhat of an expensive hobby, it was much more affordable in previous years. Like if you think about it, you would pick up, say, an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Switch for anywhere between $300 and $500, depending on the current situation of the market. You know, but it would always be within that sweet spot of like $300, $500. And even if you wanted to go into the enthusiast level of starting to build a PC, you could usually build something somewhat affordable and pretty decent at like a one. I usually like to say $1,000 because if you go lower than that, then you're compromising on a lot of things. But there's also like different markets and so on, because I know that a lot of parts are cheaper in the US and you guys have better stores and whatnot. But where I live in Portugal, if you're building a PC for like less than €1,000, you're usually getting a piece of trash that's not really going to last you more than like a year or something like that. So I usually don't really recommend that. But, you know, your mileage will wildly vary with that. But the point that I'm trying to make is when it comes to that stuff, hardware has also seen a significant price increase. And with that significant price increase, you also have less people jumping into the hobby. And if you have less people jumping into the hobby, you have a market that is effectively contracting. I could be wrong there, but that is the vibe that I'm getting at the current gaming market. And I'm not big into like economy and all of these other topics, so I might just be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comment section, but that's the vibe that I'm getting. And if you don't have an audience that is constantly expanding, which it should be with affordable hardware and all of that stuff, and it's easy for you to go up to like a friend who's maybe not into gaming and you're like, oh man, just get yourself like a PlayStation or an Xbox for like 400 bones and we can play this game together and it'll be fun. it becomes a lot harder if you go to your friend and be like, "Oh yeah, just get yourself a PlayStation for $1,000." Well, actually, I don't think I don't know how much it costs in the U.S., but it's coming up pretty close to €1,000 in Europe for the PS5 Pro. I don't know what the price is right now. Last time I checked, it was 800 something. But yeah, these consoles are getting completely ridiculously expensive, and even just recently, we've had the announcement of the price for the Steam machines, and it starts at like $1,049 or something like that, which is obviously prohibitively expensive. And I'm pretty sure that's not what Valve wanted, but that's just a reality of the hardware situation that we're living through right now because of corporate greed and artificial intelligence, which is a topic that I'm not even going to get into. But yes, those are also factors that are going to be heavily weighing on how many games people are going to be playing, on top of the fact that all of these games are fighting over overlapping sections of the same market.
Is you're likely not going to be buying more than one of those 30 plus games. You're probably not going to buy more than 2 games in total this year. Maybe not you, you're probably an enthusiast if you're watching this video, but by and large, that's what the majority of gamers actually do. And unfortunately, as money gets tighter for loads of people, the biggest games are likely to win out, because they're cultural events. They're the ones everyone's already waiting for. Because most of these games are launching at $60 or $70, and that means people will tend to go for the franchise.
More like 80 and 90 with early accesses and all this other nonsense. Yeah, that's another thing. The early access stuff, that's also very frustrating.
They recognize before anything else. For many people, that often feels like the least risky option, and that's important when they're spending their money. And because of that, player sentiment does matter more than ever. Any hint that a game isn't worth your time is ammunition for the competition. And then there's the other problem: time. Most people who play games aren't going to get through one of those games before we hit November, and that's only if you're spending money in new games, because the chaos that's about to unfold goes way beyond just spending money on premium games. Now, to explain that, last December, brand new games couldn't compete with a GTA Online update. That might be shocking news, but it comes from Ampere Analysis, it was flagged by the game business, and it's in...
By the way, I should mention I'm incredibly biased against GTA Online. Mostly because of the business practice that they have with the shark cards and all of that stuff. I really hate, a game where you can basically pay to win your way through the game. And I know that people are going to say, well, you don't have to do it, and if you do it, you're dumb, and yada, 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 but you can. That's the thing. And, the GTA Online stuff actually crosses a line that I'm not happy engaging with. But that's a personal choice. You do what you do.
Insane. The churn data is just brutal. 15.5% of new GTA Online players with that September update came from Battlefield. 12.3% came from Call of Duty. But it's not just games like them. Even long-term live services like Minecraft, Fortnite, and Roblox weren't in a better state. Fortnite lost 500,000 players who didn't come back the next month. Not purely, but certainly a major factor was that there was something new to catch their attention. And that new thing was an update to a 12-year-old game. Now, the full sequel to that game lands in November, right as every September release is trying to hold on to its players. So even if you're a September game that maybe has a live element, and even if that live element is relatively successful, you're still going to lose loads of your people. Kind of rough for Marathon, actually, now that I think about it. What that means is that releasing early does not mean you escape GTA. It just means that the collision hits your second month instead of your first month. And attention will be the greatest battleground at the end of the year. Marketing reach, streamer access, review periods, all of those things are needed by each one of these games. And for the most part, all at the same time. Every major streamer and channel is going to be pushed towards talking about GTA because there'll be marketing spend there. But not only that, it's also where the views are going to be, given how big that game is almost certainly going to be. That means you'll hear about it whether or not you care. Now,
I'm actually pretty happy with the fact that I'm not going to be competing over that. I'm so happy. It's like, no, dude, we're not doing that.
September and October. The question then is how much bandwidth any one game can take up. Smaller games in niche genres that require more investment, like say strategy titles, they could fail to break through into the mainstream. They will have to rely on their enthusiast audiences actually turning up, which is no guaranteed thing. But of course, the mainstream games are all also competing for the same general attention as well. And of course, that is compounding on one of the largest struggles gaming faces right now, which is discoverability difficulties. We talked about that in a video recently.
It's interesting because a lot of these developers with the discoverability stuff, they're kind of going through a very similar struggle to what content creators have with discoverability. Discoverability is just a problem, period, right now across the gaming industry.
And now we're going to see the problem magnified by dozens of major releases all hitting at once. And in that noise, a good game with a quiet launch will fail in exactly the same way a bad one does. And I get you may be yelling at the screen right now, calling out the obvious answer here. Just delay the games. What are we doing? Why are we doing this thing that appears to be something that'll hurt the overall industry?
Delaying the games is not going to work because we all live in the same economy and developers need to eat and budgets are balanced in a way where it's like, no, you have this window that you need to release the game in so that the game starts making money to start paying off all of this other stuff that we've been investing money into. And we also have to appease all of the shareholders and investors. Otherwise, they're going to be very upset. This is why games end up getting released at specific points of the year. And that's, like the usual March stuff that we have because it's fiscal year for Japan or whatever. I don't claim to be an expert in this type of stuff, but yeah, that's the reason. You need to like release the games at some point. You can't just inevitably delay it and delay it and delay it. That would be such a perfect world, but no, it's not happening.
Doing this thing that appears to be something that'll hurt the overall industry. Is there not a better way we can spread this out so that teams take less financial pain? And hey, is this not the best excuse to just delay? To give devs more time to work in these games, meaning that when they come out, they'll be better for everyone. But there's no easy win here. That's not really the case, and that's because even doing a delay has its own cost. Let's talk delays. Some games are already fleeing into next year. There's Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which has been delayed till February 27. Xbox, of course, got the ball rolling by delaying Fable into that same month, quote, so it can have the dedicated moment it deserves. I mean, it's a bit of a PR phrase, but man, it does kind of tell you everything you need to know, right? But of course, 2027 is quite some time away. Not everyone will be able to afford that. I don't mean customers, I mean like game companies, because funnily enough, they do actually release games to get revenue, and sometimes they may actually need that revenue. But here's the problem. You could ship after GTA, but not 2027. Well, that puts you into December, and December isn't really an option because then you'll be past a lot of the bulk of holiday spending, and no one really buys games in January. February does kind of work, but February only works until it also fills up with games. And for February, we've got Metro, Fable, Tomb Raider, and Persona 4 Revival. If devs wait too long to move, then we'll be in the same position all over again. And realistically, going past February is even less of an option for most. You see, those who move to February are effectively asking for nearly 6 more months of funding from their parents before they start to make any money. That's kind of brutal, and it will not have been in their initial budgets. And most publishers are not Nintendo. They don't sit on finished games for months or years waiting for the perfect release window. Most developers finish a game desperately hoping that they meet their sales projections, and then they try to fund another
There
game.
it is.
Realistically, while you could do a 6-month delay, how are you going to insulate the finances from that? Are you going to have to lay people off just to make the numbers work for 2 more quarters? That's the kind of questioning and decision making that actually impacts this shit, and maybe especially at a AAA scale. And that is a system that just can't really survive moments like this. I can almost guarantee then that every single game publisher and developer is in meetings right now, all deciding what they're going to do around the September crush. Not all of them.
And the thing is, they don't really have an answer for it. That's the biggest issue. There's not a whole lot they can do because, like I said, there's even games that haven't even had their official release date announced yet. Like you got where was it? The one for October, the one that I'm super interested in for some reason. Okay, here it is. No Rest for the Wicked in October. That one doesn't have a date. Lords of the Fallen 2, that one doesn't have a date. Dusk Bloods. Like I said, Dusk Bloods might be getting delayed because this is getting published by Nintendo, and like Bellular mentioned, Nintendo's okay sitting on these and figuring it out later. Tides of Annihilation doesn't have a date. Mortal Shell 2 doesn't have a date. Mortal Shell 2 is another one of those that I'm super concerned about because I was not overly keen to just like, oh man, I can't wait to jump in Mortal Shell 2. Like I enjoyed Mortal Shell 1, but it wasn't necessarily like, oh, it didn't blow me away. But Mortal Shell 2 is looking so much better than the first one. It's such an amazing glow up that now I'm like, oh no, oh no, what's going to happen? I hope they can afford to delay or do something. I don't know. I hope it comes out in December, but we just don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. It's absolutely insane. It's a bloodbath. And quite simply, there's not enough room for all of them. There isn't. And like I said, without new people jumping into the hobby at the prices that the hardware is right now, it's just going to be even more prohibitively, in terms of the economic state for a lot of these studios, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem.
Them can budge. Some games are simply going to reach a point where they cannot afford further delays. They'll just have to release into competitive windows where they may or may not get the sales that they need, because to them, there's literally no other option. It could even just be a case of definitely we go bust or have to do major layoffs, or we have an imperfect release timing, but one that might still get us what we need. That'll be the thinking. So we could see games coming out too early, we could see them underperform, we could see layoffs, we could even see studios close. Now we are going to see games that may be perfectly great experiences, but we may see some of those experiences be cut short without the further support that could have helped them rebound. Because any revivals that could happen in month 2, or any, nice little growth curve, that's going to be hurt by GTA sucking all the oxygen out of the room. And long term, even as we finally get a surge of AAA games, the surge of AAA games that we've been missing out on for a long time, it will mean that some franchises and studios are going to have to struggle to survive. But you know what's also struggling to survive? The memory capacity of Valve employees, because it appears they're being dragged before court, shown their own emails, and then saying that they don't remember
this
the
video.
emails. It's a little bit weird, and you can learn about it in this video next.
All right. So this was a video by Bellular, really good video. Do make sure to check it out. There's going to be a link in the description of this video. And yeah, I hope that all of these studios can survive, because a lot of them are working on games that I'm personally interested in. But I'm seeing a massive bloodbath, very much in the same way that Bellular is in September/October 2026. It's going to be absolutely insane. Then November is going to be kind of like a wasteland, because nobody wanted to release November. And then December, I'm hoping some of these end up moving to December, which I think they might have a better shot of, making it through there. But yeah, it's going to be rough either way, because a lot of people are still going to be playing GTA 6. And I'm assuming GTA 6 is going to come out with an online mode as well. So a lot of people are going to be jumping into that, and that is going to be taking up a lot of everybody's time. So yeah, it's going to be a rough one. It's going to be a rough one. I hope all the best for all of these studios, but that's going to be it for me for now. Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comment section down below, and do make sure to check out Bellular's video. Give it a like, give it some watch time, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.